It's summer, the sun is shining, the body's sweating, and Shonen Jump is batching. We have 3 new series that have been released in the last couple of weeks, and we are here to do what we do best, which is to read the first chapter out of all of the series, and for me to give you my first thoughts on all of them. This batch actually counts with 2 mangaka I hold very dear to my heart, with one of them being in the realm of the art in the very first manga, Animal Signal. This manga is drawn by Taishi Tsutsui, who has previously done both We Never Learn and Sitcraft, 2 manga I enjoyed a lot, but the story is done by Robinson Haruhara, who I've never read stuff from, but is also a veteran in the business, having done This Time for Torture Princess, which is on my planning. So, is the junction of these two any good? Well, Animal Signal reminds me a lot of My Hero Academia in terms of world. I don't know exactly why, but I just think the setting of a modern world where normal people have just powers like casually, they feel very similar. Though I don't think the powers in Animal Signal are as common as they are in My Hero Academia, but the feel is kinda there. But in the case of this manga, the powers are all based on animals. Some people have animal traits, but enhance so hard that they are basically superpowers. A good example of this is one of our 2 main characters, Kokone Otoa, who has bad powers, like the ultrasounds that they use, except hers is so good that she can use it to read people's thoughts. Does that make sense? No, but we ball. She belongs to the Anima Control Center, which means that she's basically a cop for anime-related cases, and both her and her apprentice Tsubasa Makisi are sent to the zoo over the threat of a fire-based anima. Kokone is meant to use her limited control over power to gather clues, but she actually spends the majority of this chapter reading her partner's thoughts. What's so interesting about his thoughts? Animal facts. This is a true gimmick of at least the first chapter of this manga. You get to learn about elephants and how they keep themselves cool, the cubic nature of wombat poop, and the symbiotic relationship between the pistol shrimp and the gobby fish. Probably the most surprising thing is that it's all presented in a very interesting fashion. You generally get invested in all of these facts, and obviously they end up playing a part in the story of the chapter as well, as they help them find and capture the villain of this chapter, who is a guy who uses Tuna's ability to warm themselves up to basically create fire. Again, does that make sense? Not really, but we still ball. But the manga isn't just animal facts. Inside it, there's a genuinely good relationship developing between our 2 leads, the boastful Kokone, who still wants to be a proper mentor to her apprentice, and the cold, timid Tsubasa, who actually hides inside a deep love for animals and everything related to them. It legitimately makes me want to see where do they go next with this relationship. I think the art style of Tsutsui really helps as well. He's actually one of my personal favorite artists in Jump out of the last 5 or 6 years. Is really improved since the beginning of We Never Learn, and his ability to draw great, funny character expressions is among the best. Like, you look at this panel of Kokone, and she's going through like 10 different emotions, and you can kind of tell them all. I really do like his writing style as well, though. It is a bit formulaic, but he's really good at making great characters and shove them in funny and interesting situations. And while not at the same level as the manga he wrote solo, I can still see a little bit of that in Animal Signal. If this is his own influence or just similar writing style by Haruhara, I will have to read Torture Princess to find out. But I can at least say that this manga is as fun as I'd expect a manga from Tsutsui to be, and that is very high praise. The second manga we have is Hal Formula, by Kento Tsurasaka, the author of Beast Children and Green Green Greens, and I really love the latter one. Green Green Greens really touched me in a way that not many Shonen Jump manga have, axed or not. The story of learning to be passionate, of spending years moving from hobby to hobby until you find almost by accident something that you truly makes you want to improve and go through the hardships of whichever it is and fail and get up and fail again. It reminded me a lot of my journey in life and finding YouTube in my late 20s and finding out that I love the process of learning and researching and writing and recording these things. And that has allowed me to maintain some level of consistency despite the lack of results and the lack of free time that I may have. And it wasn't in touching these topics that I was really moved by this manga in a way that is unlike any other sports manga that I've read from the magazine. And of course, I was sad and honestly kinda mad over the cancellation of Green Green Greens when I'm already used to it. So I'm really happy to see Kento Terasaka return with another sports manga, this time with Hal Formula, a Formula 1 kind of manga. Is it as good as Green Green Greens? With the first chapter, not really, but I do think there's definitely things in here that I really like. So first things first, I'm not really a Formula 1 dude. I don't expect many teens outside of Japan to be, not that I'm a teen, but my dad actually loves Formula 1, and I really any kind of racing sport from NASCAR to MotoGP, which apparently that love must have skipped a generation because my 3-year-old has already shown signs that, you know, he loves cars and has shown interest to racing that I personally never had, even though I've sat down with my dad and tried to watch Formula 1 multiple times in my life. That said, while I do kind of enjoy golf, or at least the idea of golf, I have been proven time and time again that a good sports manga can make you love it regardless if you have interest for the original sport or not. And this manga, so far, has gotten me engaged. This is the story of Miharu Suzukaze, who is a Formula 4 racer. Formula 1 is the highest level of the sport, and then the number goes lower until you reach Formula 4, which is the lowest. Now, Miharu used to be a good driver, producing good results, but over the last year he's been dropping. Why? We don't really know. I mean, we know why he's producing bad results now. It's fear. He's scared of the speed, he's scared of the curves, he's scared of having an accident that can seriously hurt him or even kill him. And so he brakes early, he slows down too much, slows down too often, and that allows others to pass by him. And it's totally fair, it's a very valid fear to have. And it's something that is, in Terasaka's fashion, a very interesting topic to explore in the relationship between the person and the sport, and the drive and passion for it. It's a really solid core theme to have this manga be about. It just doesn't make sense to me. If this is the reason, why wasn't he afraid the year prior? I want to know that. The chapter doesn't really tackle that, not even in a, ooh, it's a mystery you're gonna find out later. It just says that he's scared now, and I really hope that's not the full extent of it. I do believe it probably will have something to do with his parents who are not around. Instead, our main character is left alone with his brother, who absolutely loves him and looks up to him. The relationship between the two is the other core of the manga, the absolute pride that Aruka feels for his failing brother, that eventually leads him to be bullied by his classmates and even getting into fights, versus the fear that Miharu has for possibly leaving his brother alone in this world if he messes up and crashes his car. There's so much there to unpack that truly makes you invested in these characters just from a little bit, just from this chapter alone. Eventually, it all culminates with Miharu's final race before being fired for losing too much. He promised his brother to be braver, and the chance to prove it is right in front of him, as an accident has caused the fire that caused all the cars in front of him to either be in the accident or stepping down not to hit it. Instead, Miharu chooses to rush through the fire, risking his life but ultimately leaving the other side in first place and winning the race. I hope this manga continues to explore the passion for something even in the risk of death. Because, truth be told, there are a lot of sports where you risk serious injury every day. Even pro wrestling, which is what I know, has had a lot of history of people doing simple moves and that they've done 1,000 times and ending up paraplegic or even die. That has happened. And still, thousands of wrestlers still get up every day to do their match. Every racing sport has a risk of that, and they still do it. Why? Because they love it. Sadly, the story of Greens can never be explored fully the way it should, and to just rehash the same team in Hal Formula would feel cheap. In a lot of ways, it's probably not even a good idea, having in mind that it didn't really work the first time. But I think that Kendo was able to still pick something that is equally interesting and moving here. And I really hope this time it works out for him. The final manga of the batch is Canon Master by the rookie Raya Mashida. And to be completely honest with you guys, this was one I wasn't really keen on from the moment I saw the preview, and that feeling just grew within the first couple of pages. Something about the art style, something about the setting, the whole concept of monster machines and them, you having the slaylets or just people who beat the generic monster machines. It's not exciting, it's not new. The designs of these monsters is interesting. It reminds me a little bit of Legend of Zelda or Shadow of the Colossus, which are games I really find the aesthetic pleasing, but the monsters themselves are not exciting. And then to offset the designs of the monsters, the design of the kid is legitimately one of the most off-putting character designs I've seen in a while, especially that final single spread page of him where it's supposed to feel cool, scary, threatening, I don't know, something like that, but it just looks stupid and ridiculous. The art in general in this manga is a very serious case of mixed bag. There's some moments where it looks really good and cool, and there's some really good expressions, but there's also a lot of moments where things just feel a little bit off, where the perspective is really bad. There's definitely a lot of space to improve art-wise. That said, I'm not gonna sit here and say there's nothing interesting about the story, because that is a lie. There is one thing that I really did like, and that is the main character and the relationship with his apprentice. Yes, this is another mentor-apprentice manga. This time we have Barrett and her. And Barrett's actually a little bit similar to Kokone in Animal Signal in the sense that he's also a boastful mentor who acts a bit better than he is, but ultimately wants to be a good mentor for his apprentice. The difference is, while Tsubasa has a really good knowledge that helped Kokone in her mission, her is just downright better at literally everything than Barrett. He just doesn't know it yet, and instead he just has this unrivaled devotion to his mentor. This leads to Barrett trying to hide just how weak he is compared to her, while her seems to not realize just how superior he already is to his role model. And it's fun, it's entertaining, and it's easily the best part of this manga. This ends up backfiring on Barrett as he keeps refusing to teach her the mysterious secret move because her is not ready, when in reality it's just because he fears that just how strong her will be when he truly learns every move and everything that he has to learn. So her just ends up thinking that he's not good enough and decides to be a baker instead. Of course, that is when another Regolith the monster appears, and surprise, there's levels to this, and Regolith is level 2. Look, sorry, what is this? Is like the 5th new battle shonen of the year, and it has nothing new that you haven't seen the year before, and the year before that, and the year before that. It's hard to be excited for them. As they fight the monster, we find out, or at least is heavily implied, that her is not really human, and instead he may be one of those monsters. That is a little bit interesting, and it has a little bit more of that to the robot creatures. Maybe there's more to them than just giant moving gun statues, and it also throws something to the relationship between the two main characters. It's not enough to make me genuinely interested in it. The fact that the monsters may be eventually more complex and smarter is something that you kind of expect anyways. This is a plot development we always see, even as recently as Alien Edward. Eventually hollows give way to Arankars, normal curses to special grade curses. It's how battle shonens evolve. It's not bad writing, but it is expected writing. Ultimately, there's just one thing I did like about this manga, but it's already being done to some degree in another manga of the same batch. Yes, I would argue that it's being done a little bit better here, but the overall product is actually less exciting to me. So now that we've gone through all of the 3 manga, which ones do I think are gonna survive the elusive axe of Shonen Jump? Probably none. I think Animal Signal has the better chances, followed by Hal Formula and then Cannon Master. That said, even with Animal Signal, I still have my doubts about its survivability. Part of the reason is the gimmick of the entire thing. The animal facts were fun for this chapter, and I fully believe it will be fun for chapter 2, and maybe even 3, 4, 5, 10, but will it still be by chapter 30 or 40 or 70 or 125? I don't think it will. The manga either has to go full on animal facts or use it as support for something else. That is the 2 options, and if it goes with the first one, I don't think it will be interesting for the long run. It'll be super interesting and super fun for a limited time, and then you'll get tired of it, and it'll force the manga to either be cancelled or pivot. The thing about the pivot, or even the natural development of the manga, is that it's likely going to be a battle shonen of some sort. That's what it's setting up to. And at least out of the chapter 1, I cannot see a battle shonen that is engaging enough by itself here to survive. It's important to know that me saying not good enough to survive does not mean I think it is a bad manga. Rather, I mean, I don't think it's doing something that warrants its survivability when taking into account the fact that 90% of Shonen Jump manga don't survive. Statistically speaking, none of these 3 are gonna be here by next summer. Only about 1 or 2 manga per year will survive. Is that Animal Signal? Probably not. That said, I still think it has the highest chance out of this batch, and that is built on the fact that despite everything else, there isn't any kind of battle shonen like it in the magazine right now. There's tons of battle shonen it has to go against, and if it wants to be more of a comedy manga, there's also tons of comedy manga it has to go against, but there really isn't right now any kind of battle shonen that is set with people having powers in the modern world. We kind of have a bunch of hitmen and spies and the like having hand-to-hand combat. We have fantasy world adventure, and we still have some exorcist battle shonens, but there is a space for it here. Kinda. It still has to fight all of these pre-established battle manga, maybe even Bleach if the rumors are to be believed, and I don't think there's a space for another battle shonen, but if there is, this is definitely different enough from the other things running the magazine right now that maybe it can actually last. If you grab everything that I just said and apply it to Cannon Master, then you can see why it's one I have the least faith in. It has the least engaging story, the world, the least engaging art style, and it has to fight so much already. I think this is probably going to be one of the lowest ranked of the year, the same way that Goran Hag was last year. Hal Formula is another story, a story that I've talked about over and over and over again, the Spokon Curse. It's something I mention every time there's a new sports manga in a magazine, but the TLDR is that it's been years. It's been more than a decade since the last manga, last new sports manga debuted that had any kind of long-running success in Shonen Jump. If you want to hear me go more into detail on that one, I recommend checking my video on Drawn to the Fire, as I'm pretty proud of how I tackled that topic in that video, so much so that I don't feel like doing that again here. But the question when it comes to sports manga isn't, is it good enough? No, at this point it's more, is this the best sports manga in the magazine released in the past decade? Because even that was not enough. And the sad thing is, if you were to ask me what was the best sports manga in the magazine released in the past decade, even though I haven't read them all, I have read a decent chunk, and I would have told you it's Green Green Greens. And that was not enough. And Hal Formula follows the same formula than Green Green Greens, no pun intended. That was a manga that got cancelled because, despite being somewhat popular among the niche of older Jump fans, of which I am very much part of, I have gray hair, for God's sake, it failed to grab the attention of the much larger, younger audience. It's hard to believe that Hal Formula is gonna be different. So while I do want to believe while I do think Kento Terasaka fully deserves to have a long-running series, it's very, very hard for me to be hopeful. But only this is all just predictions by a random dude in a chair. If they come true or not, we'll have to wait and see. Before we finish the video, I do have something more to say. However, this is more for either the regulars of the channel and the series, or anyone else who liked this video and is interested in following the First Thought series moving forward. Anyone else, you're free to go. Thank you so much for watching till here. So, if you're a regular, you probably have noticed this video is a bit different than the previous First Thoughts videos. There's a couple reasons for this. The main one is that when I started making this video, this was meant to be the last final video of this series, and we'd have this segment we're having right now where I was going to tell you that it is the last and that it's over, and I was moving to other kinds of videos. And while ultimately that it's not what's going to happen right now, or at least not what I'm planning to do right now, I still reserve my right to do that eventually in the future. There's been a lot of mixed feelings when making a video like this. On one hand, this is a series that has existed since the start of the channel. Actually, the series predates the channel, as I used to write my first thoughts on my analyst profile whenever a new Jump got released, Jump Manga got released. My first thoughts write-up was back in December of 2019 about Zip Man. And while I didn't do it for every manga at the time, I have done so since the channel started a year later. And I can say that I've covered every single series that debuted in the magazine in the last 5 years, whether they were instant hits like Kagurabachi or Ichi the Witch, eventual hits like Blue Box or Akane Banashi, or niche stuff that people have forgotten like Candy Flurry or Shugomaru. I've covered all of it. And through it, you can see the evolution of this channel. From the time where I had a 20-euro microphone with shit sound and used Emanon pictures to show my own emotions. Which Watch was written and drawn by Kenta Shinohara, who had a big success in Weekly Shonen Jump before in the form of sketch dance. To this video where I'm trying my brand new microphone. You can see my gray hair that did not exist in the first video with camera recording that I've made on the channel. Not only that, but this is a regular series that surely has its own audience that comes back and returns and comments and watches, and I love that. It's hard to me to just turn to those people, turn to those regular viewers and say like, I'm gonna stop doing what you come here for. Plus, this is a great filler of some kind. More and more of the videos I want to make are bigger in scope, involve more research. I try to do a little bit more editing, and that takes time. It's been 10 months since my Manga Erotics video, and since then I've started researching stuff for my next magazine video and reading some manga for it. I've been writing a script for Chainsaw Man video that is currently at about 19 pages, and it's probably gonna be the biggest video I'm ever gonna make, or at least until the day I finally decide to pull the plug on that Lavina video idea. If I stop doing the First Thoughts videos, my channel is gonna look that, despite the fact that I am always here. However, the other side of the coin is that these videos just don't feel as good to make as they used to, at least not as often. For example, if you look at the previous batch, I really did enjoy working on the Drawn to the Fire video. I had something to say, I had an idea and a vision to what I wanted to say, but when it came to Roku's House of Oddities, even though I did had an initial idea based on my opinions of Gravity Boys and my feelings towards that manga, and I really did enjoy Roku, I quickly realized I didn't had much to talk about when it came to the actual series. And so I just had to force it out of me. And with Hero Destroyers, even more. The thing about doing this over and over and over again is that now I feel like I'm constantly saying the same shit over and over and over again, and it's not fun. I feel like I've lost a little bit of the passion that I had for the series, and to a smaller degree, Shonen Jump as a whole. And then you have to that what probably was the biggest factor here that oftentimes I'm working on a video that I'm really passionate and I'm having fun, I really care about this video, and then Jump drops a new batch and I have to stop working on the video that I want to work on. Instead, spend the next 2 to 4 weeks just rushing to make a bunch of videos on the new manga, videos that get outdated sometimes before I'm even done with them. And this has made me dread whenever there's a new batch, because that doesn't mean a bunch of cool new videos to work on, that means a big break on my flow. So this was going to be the last one. And then I do a tier list of all the batches to close, this chapter out, which I might still do that because it sounds fun. But while working on this video, I realized that this format of the entire batch actually works much better for me. I don't need to force myself to write 3 pages for every manga because I'm talking about a bunch of them at the same time. And so I don't feel like I need to repeat and rehash as much information as I did before. I also feel like it kind of removes the need to recap the entire plot that I normally did. I still am gonna recap a lot of the things that happened in the first chapter because, the nature of talking about it needs it. But I just don't feel like I need to do beat by beat like I previously did. It doesn't take 3 to 4 weeks out of my channel to work on this. Maybe just a week and a half. This one got a little bit later than that, but that is because I had, personal family problems. Life happens. So hopefully this format is good enough, is interesting enough for you guys that it can keep you guys around. And let me know in the comments if that is the case. Also feel free to give me ideas as to how to tackle the First Thought series a little bit different as well. I'll be reading all the comments. And that's it. If you watched till here, thank you very much. And I'll see you next video.